Welcome to Cultivate, a podcast about building, growing, and figuring it out as you go. If you're new here, welcome. I'm your host, Alex, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's conversation is with someone who has spent the majority of her career in tech and venture and is now leading the redevelopment of an entire college campus. Not exactly a linear path. My guest today is Kate Brodock. Kate is a general partner at the W Fund, investing in early stage women led tech companies. She's the CEO of Switch, a platform supporting women founders and investors. And she's now the CEO and general partner of NineFresh, where she's leading the redevelopment of the former Cazenovia College campus. She spent nearly 20 years in the startup ecosystem with deep experience across operations, venture, and leadership. And her work has been featured in places like the New York Times, Washington Post, BBC, and CNBC. In this episode, we talk about stepping into opportunities you didn't plan for, making decisions without a clear roadmap, and what it actually looks like to operate at a high level across different industries. All right, let's get into it. Kate Brodock, welcome to Cultivate.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited you're here. I can't believe this is your first time being on the podcast. I've known you for a few years now.
Yep.
Can't believe we're just now getting you into the studio, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
you
better
have
late than
been very
never.
busy. Very busy woman here.
Yep.
You've been at the center of something that's made major headlines in our region. The redevelopment of Cazenovia College into an innovation district.
Mhm.
Now, if someone's listening and they hear innovation district, they don't even know, they don't have a clue what that is. What is this going to look like?
Yeah. So it's funny because we've played with words this entire time. Uh, initially we were speaking to investors and local stakeholders and that sort of thing. So really kind of thinking about what does this mean to people. The innovation district is an easy one for me. I'm 25 years in the tech startup space. I've done global work in that area. So words like innovation and ecosystem make a lot of sense to me. But one great way that has resonated with people who may not immediately understand innovation district is really honestly a vibrant town square. And so when you go to a town square, you have people who are living there, they're working there, they're going into shops, they're eating, community events are happening. It's really kind of another interesting word is like ecosystem. So that's really what we're thinking about is we have a lot on campus. It just happens to be innovation forward. Now, on the innovation front, we are excited because our team is uniquely positioned to also bring a lot of great stuff from outside of Central New York. So we're putting in a lot of effort to bring in as well. So really kind of up the ante when we think about innovation. So, and innovation can mean anything from, startups, but also all the way to sort of workforce development too. So we're really thinking pretty comprehensively on it.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt that this development is not only going to make the Cazenovia area just so much more vibrant and fun, but I think it's definitely going to have a huge impact on the local economy there. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, if we do our jobs right, it's not just the local economy. Like we're really hoping to impact the regional economy in, an additive way. Uh, Not a fan of reinventing wheels or duplicating efforts. So really a lot of partnership models, even when we're thinking about tenants, it's sort of what exists that could also make sense and have a place on campus. Also, too, when we look, it's one way to look is west into Syracuse. The other way to look is east into Madison County. Madison County is one of the poorest counties in the state. And so a lot of potential there for impact. So we're trying to think pretty comprehensively about it. But that's kind of the exciting part. And there's so many different ways we can do that. So yes, we're that part we're really excited about. And that was we've had an excellent relationship with the village. And the village undertook their own pre us closing and that sort of thing right off the bat when they knew the college was closing. They themselves did a whole comprehensive feasibility study. And one of the three pillars that they focused on was economic growth. So very well aligned with village priorities and also hoping to really make a sort of a regional impact on it too.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Because Cazenovia is a lovely area, but it's sometimes not the easiest area to break into when it comes to like development and new
No, it's
business.
yeah, I mean it's a
They
yeah.
they have pretty high standards.
Yeah, and it's a classic small town. I have found the local government to be pretty open. The recent thing was that, even despite the college closing, 94% of the shops on Albany Street were filled. Little turnover, but I think there's a real high support for some growth. It's a small town, and sometimes it's hard to think about how to do that
Yeah.
at the small town level. So that is one area where we hope we can step in, and be again additive on that. So and so far we've had just excellent support, really productive relationship
That's
with
awesome.
with the municipalities and with just the local community. So it's great.
Good.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to the moment where you realized this opportunity?
Yes. Um
Were there other people trying to jump on it? Like, what was that?
so pre the college actually closing, I was working with a couple of my colleagues in the innovation space, not from here. We were going to be doing a project with the college, just a normal working with us, working with a student, set up a cool group. We'll get some student work on it, etc. On using technology with the local farming community. Pretty, startup-y, right up my alley.
Hmm.
And little did we know it was the 11th hour. And, the college announces closure. Obviously, our project didn't move forward.
Hmm.
One of the close colleagues and friends that I was working with, John Hill, basically said, crazy idea. Why don't we buy the college and turn it into a startup ecosystem?
Nice.
And planted the seed. And so here we are after, it took almost 3 years. Didn't jump right into it, kind of did some exploring along with a lot of people. There were definitely other bidders, other folks, some of the usuals. There was, PE firm from Long Island and that sort of thing. But one of the other things that I think the local municipality and the community really did want was if it could get under local control, that's the most ideal opportunity they could have. Obviously, no one was going to let it sit dormant,
Yeah.
but I think that was part of the productivity that they put forth with our purchasing group on that level. So I live in Kaz. My other partner who helped broker the entire deal lives in Kaz, and we just sort of took it on.
Yeah, it
So
sounds like the perfect deal for Cazenovia College. I
yeah,
mean, super grassroots, and I'm sure they feel really safe kind of handing it off to people that are right there in the community that clearly will do good by it. You know what I mean? Not just
yes,
some PE firm coming in and doing,
yeah,
you know.
drop some money and leave. I think it was a big fear. And that's where, the small town Cazenovia, those are places where they can get protective, rightly so.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, Cazenovia is such a gem.
Oh
So
yeah.
I
Yep.
cannot wait to see how this turns out. Do you see this model expanding beyond Cazenovia ever?
Yeah, actually one of our, like, right out of the gate, one of the things that we have built into our thought process is, so there's a 2024 stat, so I'm sure that 2025 stats are going to be worse, is that there's a college campus closing across the country at a rate of once a week.
Mm,
And I know, and they're usually same profile as Kaz. They're small, sort of like suburban, rural, compact, liberal arts colleges, and the business model has just been really hard. So when you look at that stat, it's kind of hard to not think about, well, at least in my brain, I think about MVPs and all the time. It's kind of hard to not think about modeling it and scaling it. And so if we can model that effectively here and potentially go on to other college campuses and make the same impact on that community, that's the goal. Even going in pre-closure on a college campus. So that is what we are working towards, is also model building to see if it's a useful model moving forward, both from a returns, from an asset class standpoint,
hmm
returns profile, but also from a community impact. Again, we could be a PR, a PE firm could go around and scoop up colleges if they want to, throw in housing and retail and leave. We want to be the people who, like the town mayor calls, right? Or the
Mhm.
outgoing university president calls because they know what we're going to care about. And it's the same thing that they care about, which is the legacy of their institution and their local community. So we're trying to put in the work there on that.
What does the work for that look like? Is that really centered around brand building, culture,
So,
connections?
great question. So brand building will definitely come into it. I mean, if you think about it, it's a little bit almost franchise model or licensing model. We haven't figured that part out. But yes, branding will be a piece of it. But I think also on the other side of it, it's both a space situation. All of these colleges have very similar spaces. So what does that mean when you translate it? You've got a dining hall on every single campus.
Mhm.
What could that become? And then there's the stuff that goes on top of it. So, what does workforce development look like in this community? We even have ideas around the alumni base of Caz College that can be easily transferred to other colleges. So, it's really about thinking, what can we do here that's relevant to all colleges and relevant to all these communities that are in these colleges? And how do we then build a structure around that piece of it that can,
Be licensed out.
be be licensed or templated or something.
Yeah.
Again, there are a couple different models and it may be one or two models within the model,
Mhm.
but that's kind of where we're going
That's
on
really
it. Yeah.
interesting.
And then it's fun to think about brands. Like I feel like the
Yeah.
library on
That's the
all the
fun part.
campuses like it should always just be called the library,
Yes,
you
but then it
know?
turns into like a really cool cocktail lounge too.
Oh my God, that's funny you should say that. Yes,
Is
that
that what you
is.
guys are thinking?
It's one of the ideas. Circulation desk. You go right in there. There's the circulation desk.
Well, when you go to like a
Kind
nice
of.
resort, I feel like the the sexy cocktail lounge on site is always called the library.
Yeah. Well, and ours still has all the books in it.
Oh, really? They
It's
didn't
got
do
like
anything with the books?
microfiches from New York Times from 1867. It's got
That's
everything
cool.
in it. So,
Well,
yeah.
tell us if you're able to tell us about some of the other ideas you guys have been generating around the Cazenovia College
Yeah.
development.
So, first out of the gate is we are going to do housing. Housing, as most people know, is a huge regional need.
Yeah.
So,
And there's
that,
not a lot of apartments in
no.
Caz.
So we're doing active 55 plus housing is the first one, and then we'll have market rate in two of the dorm buildings after that. We are planning out what kind of the culinary layer looks like. Again, we have a campus scale dining hall, as you can imagine, a couple of good event spaces and that type of thing. And then I'm I started out kind of what we're calling internally developed some programs. So some that agriculture tech and food tech component
Hmm.
is still carried through as sort of a sub program, sort of building that out. All of them will look like tenants. We are also considering some workforce development. A couple of the regional areas of focus are things like entertainment and film. So, again, none of these are set in stone at all. These are sort of where we're exploring and that type of thing. And thinking about horizontally doing things like how can we effectively host events or retreats. It's not big. Like we don't have a big, huge auditorium, but we have a lot of very neat spaces on campus. So thankfully, first of all, every building structurally is great. So we won't have to take any buildings down. Pretty much all of the construction and redevelopment is internal to the buildings. And so we're kind of going through this process where we've got housing that's straightforward. And in parallel, we're doing a lot of tenant curation and then program building. So,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I've got my fingers in some things around, democracy and media, women in sports, that type of thing. So, seeing where some of those can go, but not anything definitive yet. And then we'll have some more traditional, but hopefully, you know, funky and startup-y because that's my vibe. Office space, and
Hmm.
we've actually got a nice pipeline at the moment of people interested in offices. So I think that'll
Nice.
be great. And again, being able to kind of curate and get a lot of different types of people and businesses together in the same space, we think is a super value add to the whole ecosystem. So yeah. And then doing things like events and bringing people onto campus for various different reasons. That's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like for housing, you guys, for right now at least, are focusing on 55 plus.
Just for one of the dorm buildings.
Okay.
First
And
one.
then the other are at market.
Market value.
Okay.
Yep.
So are you hoping that this innovation hub is going to kind of bring in fresh talent and almost like a
Yes.
younger demographic to the Cazenovia area?
That is one of the goals. Not exclusively. I mean, one thing about Kaz is there are always people wanting to move there for the school district and that sort of thing. So that's general housing is in demand. But then also, yes, one of the goals we have is to be bringing in new profiles of people. And I think it would be great to increase that the younger demographic, frankly, our school base needs it.
Yes.
I mean, our superintendent, when I talked to him about it, is like, if you can do that, I'll be really excited. So yeah, I think it is bringing what we think will be a great additional vibe to Cazenovia.
A project like this, I can't imagine, has so many different moving parts. And what you're doing is so innovative and, quite frankly, hasn't really been done here. How do you make decisions when the path isn't super clear?
Well, first and foremost is I am in the business of doing that, so to speak. I mean, when you're in startup world, whether you're starting a startup or investing into it, you're especially early stage, which is where the bulk of my work has been, you are just in that where decisions and pathways are not clear and you need to be decisive. And however, one very key thing is that I have not ever done real estate. I don't know. I'm like masochistic. And I was like, let's not, flip a house. Let's buy an entire college campus. I don't know what was in my head on that one, but I have not done real estate before. And so the biggest thing is it would be ludicrous for me to try to do this without real estate expertise. So, I have a great operating partner, John Majors and his team, the Otness Group. They're my real estate right hand. And full partners. So they're equity holders. We're doing the whole project together. That's the number one, right? It makes decision-making a lot easier.
Yeah.
And then I have always traditionally been in the business of asking people in my network, talk to me about this. What do you think? What do you see? Trying to get those inputs. And I think the key part of that process is being able to synthesize those inputs and then still be decisive about it, right? So it's not enough just to be coachable and take the inputs. The crucial piece is to be able to synthesize and execute. So I think that's sort of, the process that I've developed and that I really lean on a lot.
Yeah. I really like that because you're leaning on your community and you're
Yep.
kind of gathering all the information that you don't have yet, right?
Yep.
But sounds like to me you're still still a very much self-trusting, like, I'm going to gather all this information, but I'm going to trust myself to make the right decision at the very end. Maybe even if it's not what the majority of people are telling you either. I mean, I think
Yep.
that especially when you're in the startup space and you're investing in all these early stage businesses, I would imagine that a lot of the decisions might be intuitive, just kind of a feeling.
Yeah. I mean, that's the nature of early stage is you have less data to work on. And it is more intuitive based on past experience, based on the founder. It's like a squishier. It's like a squishier set of inputs that you're dealing with. On the flip side, there are some very clear things with this too. Like the real estate business model is like best and highest use. Yes, we cannot turn this building purely into a community center because we will make no money.
Yeah.
And that is not sustainable. I mean, leaning back on some of the fairly clear fundamentals is like, what is sustainable? Oh, we have investors. They expect returns. Here's how we're going to do returns, that type of thing. So some of it is fairly straightforward, but yeah.
I want to ask you this because people ask me this all the time. And since your business is very much mission driven and really tied to benefiting the local region. I
Yeah.
mean, have people asked you if you've considered going the nonprofit route?
Yes. I, for 20 years, I think the nonprofit route is a good model for some uses. I believe strongly from a sustainability standpoint that a for-profit model will make things bigger and better, even if you're mission driven, right? I also don't disagree with getting returns on things. I don't disagree with myself and my team making money, because at the same time, we're also going to be putting money into the local economy. We can achieve our mission and still make this a great opportunity. And again, I think that feeds it for making it much more successful when you have that layer. So we never even considered going the nonprofit route,
I like
more
that.
or less. Yeah.
I like that. No, people, a lot of people assume that CNY Women's Network is nonprofit.
Oh, yes.
And
Well, I've been there.
yeah, I
As
mean,
you know, some of my past organizations focused on women's empowerment. Everyone
yeah,
thinks they're nonprofit,
exactly. So,
and ours was not.
I love being like, actually, we're a for-profit
Yeah.
independent media company.
Yes.
So,
And I love that.
um,
And we should embrace our ability and power in terms of making our own money as well.
yeah, it's okay to want to do good business, but also want to make money.
Absolutely.
And simply, I mean, I think when you're in kind of this space that is a little bit more focused on diversity or empowering, underserved voices, like it's easy for people to assume that you're a non-for-profit
Yeah.
organization, but I just say, no, we're for-profit. We just know our niche.
Yeah, we use the term for profit for good,
Okay, I
so
like
yep.
that.
Yeah.
I might steal
Use
that.
it. Use it. My gosh.
So from the outside, what you're doing it looks incredibly bold. And, anyone who's willing to take a risk like this and just kind of go for it, especially in a community like Cazenovia that really has been quite quaint and traditional for very long.
And
What
have
is
some
it?
opinions.
What does it actually feel like on the inside while you're building something at this scale?
Sometimes it feels like a roller coaster. It's a big project. It's the biggest project I've ever done. Um, Now, part of being stable and confident in that position is, again, that team aspect of it. Is I'm not going it solo. I've got highly experienced people on my team who have done this across the country. Um, Huge projects across the country. So that was a key part of putting this together, is making sure that we collectively actually do know what we're doing,
Yeah.
and that allows me to lean on them in those areas that I don't have experience on. Things like zoning. Never gone through zoning before.
Not
Um,
fun. I
Not
can't, I
fun.
mean, neither have I, but
Listen,
it's the
again,
last thing I'd want to deal with.
I'm going to state to you that it's not fun. I will give massive props again to our village boards. They have been incredibly productive in the process. So that it has been as great an experience as and people doing projects in other
Yeah, that's not usually the
I
experience.
have talked to them and they're like, "What?" That was like, how are you they just can't fathom that a municipality would be as productive as ours has. I still hate zoning. It's like, oh my gosh.
It's still the worst.
Yeah, I mean, there are some aspects that are just not fun for me. I mean, frankly, truth be told, this was never really a real estate play for me. It was an ecosystem. I get to, we're building something really cool here,
Yeah.
right? So the real estate is a portion of it. That's not necessarily where I get my excitement. Obviously, we're all going through that process, but that's not the fire
I mean, you've built
portion of
your
it.
career around community building,
Right.
really. So this is just like another manifestation of it. You are
Right.
just so passionate about building community.
Right.
And I mean, It's just so fulfilling to do
Yeah.
that. I hear that.
Yeah. And again, hopefully we can do some really just cool things with it too on all regards. And it's not even just community. It's really, I mean, it really is, there's a lot of business in it. It's a lot of like really effective curation of what's happening on top so that there's value in all of it. So, I mean, there's a very clear money line in all of it, but it all is innately connected to the really beautiful things like impacts on community. We get to involve the community. We get to bring in and include amazing people. The industries in the areas that are represented on campus are exciting and interesting and new and fresh and that sort of thing. So that's kind of, that's the link that we are always trying to find, that sweet spot. So
So the programming that you're developing, who is this going to be for? Is this open to just really anyone that wants to be involved, or is there kind of like a schooling that's going to be happening there?
so the programming, it sort of depends on what bucket. So some of them are businesses. We're internally developing a leadership program around women in sports. That's very much going to have a business model. It's going to act like a tenant. It's going to pull nationally on things. And so it's like, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. One of the key things that we have every single time we think about a program, there's a sustainability check mark that we give. Is this a sustainable business? In some cases, that might look like, can this be sustained at, for instance, if you look into the arts, a lot of that, the sustainability business model, it's going to be a lot of grants and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But on a lot of them, that's a key marker, is this thing that we're building has to be able to pay rent, and it has to be able to pay rent for 5 or 10 years. Right. So this isn't like we can start these little things that are going to chug along. We actually have to, there's thought that's putting into like, this has to be a legitimate, strong thing. Or it gets wiped out. Like, we're not trying to test lab
Yeah.
things. We're trying to make sure that what we develop is sustainable so that it can be plopped into a real estate model and make that real estate model work. So that's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah. Women in sports, that's going to be really fun.
Yeah, it's great. So I do a whole bunch of stuff in that.
Yeah. You're already kind of in that world.
Yeah.
So you'll just be able to plug away once you guys get started.
Yes, we do. I've got a ton of folks nationally, actually internationally, kind of tapped in on an ideation group on that. So we're kind of just working again on a couple of these, where's the white space? Why Central New York? What's that sustainability model?
Mm-hmm.
And then frameworking it out. That's kind of the drill that we do on a couple of these programs, and we drill it down. And then if we have something substantial, great. And I have, groups of people working on each of those verticals.
What is the answer to why Central New York?
In some cases, it's different. So on the women in sports thing, it's that that's a little bit more of a destination play. The ability to create something that actually has global reach, because we live in 2026,
Mm-hmm.
can create a really neat opportunity in a quaint town where you can come. It's a lake town. It's great. Cost is low. So when you're thinking about popping up an institute or anything like that, it's low cost to do that. We have access to things like Syracuse University, that type of thing. We have access to some of the expertise directly that may be valuable to partners and that sort of thing. So those are the couple in that bucket. On the ag and tech thing, that's kind of obvious. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're literally, in rural.
Yeah.
Again, you look east and it's farmland. It's a huge
horses,
population.
Things.
It's one of the Central New York, the ESD, Economic State Development Regional Office for Central New York. It's one of their top 5 in priorities in terms of industries is the farming community. So it's like, that's an obvious fit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of reasons that Central New York makes sense. You got to hammer it out a little bit, but it's there.
Yeah.
So,
So you said that this is the biggest project, almost
yep.
biggest moment you would say of your career. I mean,
Yep.
you've had a pretty awesome career. What are some of the experiences or lessons you've learned along the way that have prepared you for this moment?
So I think that, well, it's funny. One thing I will say is that I'll put it in productive terminology because we spin these around in our heads sometimes. This has allowed me the opportunity to identify some pretty clear spots for sort of leadership upgrade, right? I have a growth mindset. And so constantly, if you see a gap, if you mess up, you feel it. If you find yourself in a situation where you're, wide eyed, how do you fix it? So that process alone, I think, has been the learned experience of being able to get into a new situation and figure out how to up level. That's been huge. So that's number one. I do think, too, also just going back to that team thing, in addition to being functionally good team members, I always try to work with really good humans, and that makes a world of difference. And so when you have good humans around you, it makes any of these ups and downs not perfect, but a lot better. And then honestly, one thing that I've always sort of done is normalizing. When I look at this project, seems big to some people, seems big to me on days. It is small peas in a good way. It's small peas. There are people across the country doing way bigger real estate projects than this. Huge, hundreds of millions of dollars. And like that, like normalizing it like that and saying, okay, I have to figure out how to manage it, but it's manageable.
Hmm.
That's actually like very calming in some ways. And that I have taught myself to do a little bit in a lot of these situations, which is, it's kind of a you're not alone.
Yeah.
Like people do this every day, which
Yeah.
means you're fine.
Yeah.
Right. So even in the catastrophic times where it's, you lose an investor or something like that, it's like, oh God, it literally happens all the time.
I
Uh,
really like that.
yeah. So, and that I think is that's a good through line is just, it's sort of like, what's the big deal
Yeah,
type of
no, I
thing.
love that
Yeah.
because I think when people look at someone like you who has really taken risks and tried new things her entire career, they would probably assume that you don't get overwhelmed, that you're the most confident entrepreneur ever. And the truth of the matter is that you can continue to break barriers and take risks, but you're also still like a scared little child inside. That's not
Yeah,
saying that
listen, I
you're
have
not
my
afraid.
days. I have my days. And I was actually just telling we gave the village board a little walking tour yesterday of the campus. And I remember telling them, I was like, sometimes I walk across campus and I'm in such a roller coaster within the span of like 50 feet because I'll start out, I'll say, oh my gosh, I can't wait until this building turns into XYZ. And then I'll go another 10 feet and I'll think about my electric bill for the month or like broken water pipes or something like that, or the landscaping that has to be done. And I just, you just sometimes go like this. And I mean,
I think that's just
yeah.
on being an entrepreneur. Like
Yeah, totally.
that sounds like the conversation I had inside my head while I was trying to fall asleep last night. And then I woke up this morning, my aura ring was like, it took you an hour and a half to fall asleep last night. What's wrong? It's like,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
just
Or you woke up at 2 a.m. What happened? Oh, it was freezing cold out and I was thinking about the pipes bursting,
it's
you
the
know?
ups and the
Yeah.
downs. Cause I mean, there can be so many exciting things happening
Yeah.
and so many amazing things ahead for you, but there's also so many things that you worry about
Yep.
and that are very much, falling from the sky
Yeah.
everywhere you look.
And I think it's helpful for me too because I have been so surrounded by startups as an investor on boards. You get internal looks into startups and this stuff happens every single day to founders. They get in cash crunches.
Yeah.
They're worried about paying their employees the next week. That's big stuff. That is really big, stressful stuff.
Yeah.
And you just sit there and you grind. When you see people grinding it out, it really does make it. And it's not about the grind. It's about making the grind okay, right? It's sort of a all right. We got to figure it out. Again, we can figure it out. It's figure outable, and it stinks. And tonight I'm not going to get any sleep, but you just kind of like do it.
You just got to do it.
You just kind of got to do it sometimes.
That made me feel so much better about myself.
I know. I sometimes feel like I want to do this series that's just called like war games. Like I want to get founders who are at the point at which they're able to share the like.
Yeah.
There was this 2
It's hard when you're
period.
in it to share it. But I've been in it for a few months. Like the last few months have been insane, and we've had emergency finance meetings, and there's been a lot of fear, a lot of just doing it.
Yep.
Happening.
And I've been on those meetings, and it's and I mean that's another thing, which is when you have supporters around you, that when you're in those, that's a real key thing.
I think it's also important too to like make sure you do have friends that are in similar positions, because I do have a lot of friends that own businesses, and it's just such a relief when you can hear that you're not the only one going through that stuff.
Yeah.
That like, oh, there's other people that are worried about making payroll next week. Okay, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm not just the biggest, you know, I'm not just the worst entrepreneur on earth.
It's failure in your face. And and you're disappointing people, and other people's lives are on the line and all that stuff. It's all of that big stuff in your face. And to your point, it's just knowing you are not the only person who's been like on that precipice.
Yeah, because it just tells you that you're not, I mean, when stuff like that starts happening, all you can think of is, I'm not cut out for this.
Absolutely.
Like, oh my gosh, who was I to think that I could handle this? But when you hear that there are other people, and there's been so many other people, especially people that you look up to that were once in your position, you're like, oh, this is just part of the journey.
Yeah.
I just got to keep going.
Yeah.
I just got to keep going. I might have to stay up all night and work.
Yeah.
But if I just keep showing up and solve the problems as they come up, then that's really all you can really do.
Yeah. And I think also that's an interesting thing that I've been contending with, is realistic viewpoints on what you can do. And so part of the bigness of a project like this is like you almost sort of like naturally reach your limit on the old ways that I used to get stuff done. But that actually didn't work in this situation. That's actually happened to me a couple times, and a couple serious times. And that's when you do your up leveling. But being able to also kind of identify the like, oh, now I've really got to go talk to we got to find something else here.
Yeah.
But I think still having the confidence that it's figure outable is important.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and everything is figure outable, right?
I feel that way, yes.
And one thing that I tell myself when I feel like the world is ending and my life is over is that everything is figure outable, one, but two, at least I am not, I'm not a open heart surgeon, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not like we're not saving lives here.
Yes. I think about that often. I think about the two different sides of the coin. Sometimes I'll look at and no shade on this type of job or employment, but like a coffee barista, where the stakes are, you put an extra espresso shot in a coffee. And I'm like, gosh, that must be so, like, what would happen if I could just do that for a day? And then I'm like, no, you want to know what? Those people have to contend with their own, might miss rent, like the big serious stuff. And then to your point on the other side, like these people that they're like going to war. They're like
Mhm.
we're not that.
Yeah.
That's not the stuff that wakes us up at 2 a.m. We gotta like
Sometimes you just gotta humble yourself, right?
seriously.
And that just goes back to
It's like
your
what it's yes.
to the start of this conversation was you
Yeah,
being like, "Oh, people do deals like this every day. It's fine. Like, get over
seriously.
yourself."
Yeah, it's
I have
literally
to tell
that. It's
myself
like
that a lot is
y-
get over yourself,
yeah.
Alex.
Yeah, the worst that could happen to you is like not the worst that could happen. Period. Like you are actually in a really great position right now, Kate, and you've got a lot of stuff going for you. And
Yeah.
for you to almost, you know, uh who are you
Yeah.
to yeah,
No, that is my number one self-coaching technique
love it.
is just like snap into it,
Love it.
you
Love
know?
it. Love it. Yes.
Um, well, that being said, you have had the pleasure of working with so many different entrepreneurs throughout your entire career, especially coming in from the venture capital perspective. Your whole job has been to identify who has potential and who's worth
Mhm.
investing in, right? So, what would you say are some of the characteristics of entrepreneurs that succeed and entrepreneurs that don't?
Yeah, so one of those things I mentioned in the beginning, aside from kind of the business fundamentals, if we're looking at a founder,
Hmm.
one of those things I mentioned in the beginning, the sort of ability to take the ability to welcome and be humble enough to take inputs from people, but be able to synthesize and be decisive. Like again, a lot of people say coachability. I do not think coachability alone is it. Think you have to have conviction, and I think that's a key part of being a founder. You have to have some level of conviction and decisiveness to be able to be effective. That's not as common as it may seem with founders. I think the focus uh on team is really important. When I hear is sort of that difference between if founders say I or we a lot, which one is it? And it doesn't always mean they're going to be excellent management that you can work with.
Hmm.
But if they're I people, I feel like there's a limit. I feel like there's going to be a limit at some point to I people.
Yeah.
It's the sort of like SMART goals, right? Are you presenting something that's like achievable, logical, like that sort of thing? Or are you lost in vision, etc.? Like you have to either be the person who can determine yes, this is viable, or get the person. I think either way
Yeah.
is doable. So those are, I think, a couple of the key characters. I always also look to if it's like a founding team, like how are you interacting with your co-founder? Does that feel healthy? Do you have advisors that you can, not just throw in your deck, but I always like to ask people, those are some really impressive advisors that you have in your deck. When was the last time you talked to them?
Mm.
Right? Or is it just because they worked at Starbucks? Meaning Starbucks corporate. Not,
Yeah.
wait, sorry, we were just talking about baristas. I meant like, or is it because there's a flashy brand and they show up to a board meeting twice a year, right? So like really understanding, do you have you put, even if you're early stage and you don't have a lot of resources for a team, have you figured out how to get a team around you? So those I think are the couple. And then you always like some of the obvious are like, what's your background? Like founder, they talk a lot about product market fit. I think a lot about founder market fit. What is it in your experience? It can be anything. It could be you came from the industry. It could be I was this person that didn't have access to X and I wanted to create access. But like, what is your connection to the problem and the solution? I think that's
Yeah.
important. So those are just a couple of things.
What are you most excited about right now as this project continues to evolve?
We are just about to close on some capital stuff. So we're in the final probably 4 weeks of investor fundraising, and then also just closing out pre-development debt financing. I am going to be excited when that's done, but the most exciting part is that's going to allow me to jump into a lot of this, like the real
The exciting
stuff that gets me excited, which is starting out to, short term. How do we get some energy going on campus? Some short term community things, some programming. We have someone who wants to do some content production, like sort of follow the story along.
Yeah, that's fun.
Um, and then how do we start building out these programs? How do I start? What I really want to do is I cannot wait to activate my network, especially outside of Central New York. There are people that think this is like you bought a college. What are we going to do with it?
That's
Let's
so
go.
cool.
And I cannot wait to activate those because it is going to be, there's some awesome people who I think will be, I think there's going to be a lot of great influx coming in. We just have to figure out what it looks like. And I can't wait to get in on that. I can't wait to get in the weeds on that. So that's probably like the most important.
Do you plan on kind of hosting like exclusive events while you guys are developing this
Yeah,
stuff? I mean, I'm
we
assuming that those people from outside of Central New York might want to come in and
absolutely.
visit. So maybe industry events.
Yeah, we're trying to prep a couple of spaces on campus. As you can imagine, it's a fairly average small liberal arts college on the inside.
Yeah.
So we're prepping some of the spaces for pre-development uses. And we definitely want to get we definitely actually we were a little bit bummed. We got approached by a film studio um, down south to actually film for 3 months on campus. It unfortunately it came too early. It was so close to closing. We're like we're just not going to be able to accommodate
Yeah.
what they needed in time because we had no access to the property. So we're like looking around for things like that to come onto campus. So we're trying to be pretty creative on. I mean, that's part of it also is revenue generation for us. So when we can get some, we don't have to sit around to make money off the project. It's kind of important, but we also have some really fun commute, like just for free, come use the space community stuff, speaker series, stuff for the
Mhm.
kids. Like, yes. So the answer is yes.
If there's someone listening to this that really admires not only what you're building right now, but just simply the career that you've had, what's one piece of advice you'd give them that you wish you had when you were just getting into it all?
I think what I would say is early on, or whenever, if you're my age or whatever it is, at some point, really doing the work on figuring out how you work the best. That's been a process that I've gone through over the past, it's never ending, but I've done that process over the past 10 years. We all wish we started half these things when we were 21, right? And but I do think that that is really valuable to be introspective. Like, what is it? What's your superpower? Like, what is it? How do you need to structure your day to make sure you get through it? Like,
Mhm.
all of that stuff on just making sure you're just like, honestly, it's making sure you're nailing it. I think that's such an important process, and I've been, I coach a lot of people. I've been coaching groups myself. I love it. That process of just being able to iterate on anything from productivity to what drives you. I would say that if people were to spend time being really conscious about that, I think they'd find a lot more. It's just such a good foundation. I think it's just makes everything more. It gets the work stuff out of the way, so then you get to focus on the stuff that you love,
Yeah.
right?
That's something I've been thinking about a lot
Yeah.
lately is how am I structuring my week? How am I
Yep.
structuring my day? You know, what does time blocking look like for me and what am I working on
Yeah.
during those time
Yeah.
blocks? And because of what I do is because I'm a founder, so I'm like behind the scenes building and planning and building systems and delegating, but I'm also having to host interviews and host
Yeah.
events and
Yeah.
go and network and go to coffee. It's like it almost feels like whiplash half the time,
Yeah.
right? So I have to be really and throw, chronic ADHD on top
Yeah.
of all that.
Yep. Yeah.
Nonetheless, I am constantly trying to figure out how can I operate at peak performance,
Yeah.
whether I have to be sat down and focused, which is like the hardest thing ever for me. I would much rather be out and about
Mhm.
moving and grooving. And how can I make sure my energy is good for an interview
Yeah.
and that I look like I've slept, even though I
Yeah.
haven't. So it's just that is
Yeah.
the constant struggle.
Yeah. And
I
it's little things like if you have if you're feeling if you're like waking up at 2 o'clock and you're anxious, like what is the thing? Why is it that you're doing that? And then therefore, what's the solution for me? Because it's like little stuff like that when you function less well
yeah.
when you're in that zone. It's like just kind of constantly exploring that. But yeah,
Yeah, just being super introspective
yeah.
and constantly
I
improving.
loved your addition of making sure I look like I've slept. I need that one. It's a good one.
All right, Kate. So this is my last question for
Yep.
you. What does success look like for you right now?
I think that success looks like for the College project, the creation of a space that embodies big ideas, is replicable, has a huge impact on the community, um, and working with good humans while also making money. Because again, I don't think anyone should be ashamed about. That's kind of an
It's a
obvious.
business. It's
Oh
supposed
yeah,
to,
I think
right?
it's kind. Yeah, I think it's kind of like that's like the baseline, like great, and then above and beyond that, it's not just that.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
You've worked with so many people just across the world globally. Do you feel like you have to apologize for wanting to make money when you speak to other people that aren't from
I have
this area?
stopped doing that. I stopped. I think part of
Or do you think it's because you're in the mission driven business space that you feel like almost like you have to justify the fact that you're building a business that needs to make money?
no. I think it's the reverse. And I think especially working for 20 years on gender equality and access in an industry that is specifically money oriented,
Mm-hmm.
startups and investing. Part of that has been myself working with founders and investors on embracing that. Like you are building something. Women in women startup founders get 1.7% of all VC funds. They are up against in the US, it's insane. They are up against such hurdles on a thing that they would like to have the unicorn exit at the end, and they are up against such a shitty, excuse my language,
You're
such a
fine.
crappy situation. And then you have investors who are just getting into it. They've done a lot of donations and they're feeling, and I'm like, no, this is power. Good power. It's influential, impactful power. And you should never be ashamed of wanting to make money because you can make money and make impact at the same time. And frankly, you don't even have to make impact. There's literally nothing wrong with you taking your assets and wanting to put those assets to work. You should do that because you worked darn hard to get here. And like kudos to you for doing it. I just, I think it's because I've worked with inherently people who have not been given permission to embrace that. It's like part of what I feel that work is for me to give them permission.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm fine with it. And honestly, some people probably, I mean, let's be honest, there are going to be people who listen to this and like, oh, she's all mission oriented and she should want to make more money. I'm like, well, okay, fine. So I want to do both. So
You can't win,
yeah,
right?
you can't win it, but that's okay. So yes, I'm perfectly fine with people embracing that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Kate, thank you so much for your time today.
This is great.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I cannot wait to see how this project unfolds.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cultivate CNY. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love it if you left us a quick review and made sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if something in today's discussion resonated with you, please share it. Whether it's on social media or directly with a friend, you never know how hearing this conversation might be exactly what someone needs right now. And I love to hear your feedback. I love to hear your thoughts. So please be sure to tag us on social media if you do share there.